The pick is in. Your Spurs select Jaden Quintin, number 20 overall. Let's talk about it. Welcome back to another episode right here on Spurs in Focus. I am your host, Jeff Garcia, longtime Spurs writer in San Antonio. Glad to have you back. By the way, thank you for making Spurs in Focus your first and only spot for all things San Antonio Spurs. Make sure to follow us wherever you get your favorite podcasts from iTunes, Spotify, Amazon Podcasts, Pocket Cast. The list goes on and on. The Substack, completely free. I don't charge. Spurs in Focus is the name on Substack. Go follow it right now. And again, yes, thank you for making this Spurs in Focus your first spot for all things San Antonio Spurs. What are we talking about today? Well, we're going to look back at the Spurs in the first round of the 2026 NBA draft. They had one pick, number 20, and they go with a project player, a forward, Jaden Quintin. And let's just say Spurs fans, for the most part, do not like the pick. We're going to get into Jaden, what we like, what we don't like. Are we surprised? Were there other names on the board that the Spurs maybe should have gone after? So much more. And then kind of project out his immediate future with the Spurs. Will he be getting burned in San Antonio, Austin next season? Did he feel the need? Look, we got a lot to talk about. Let's go to bring in our guest. He is back, everybody. Look, we did a pre-draft show, so we have to bring him on now that it's a post-first round draft show. Mr. Rudy Campos of The Sports Answer. He is on next at The Sports Answer. I was shocked, Rudy, when they didn't say Rudy Campos, number 20 to the Spurs. I was stunned.
I'm a lottery pick, Jeff. If I don't get in the lottery, I immediately remove my name from any picks after that.
Again, everybody, he's on X at The Sports Answer. Follow him. He'll brag about his show, The Sports Answer, in just a few seconds. Let's dive into it. There's a lot to talk about here. With the number 20 pick overall in the first round of the NBA draft 2026, the Spurs go with Jaden Quintin, forward out of Kentucky. And let's just say, Rudy, I was surprised. When I saw names like Karim Lopez on the board, I go, makes sense. Big guy, fills a need. When I saw Sanak on the board, makes sense. Big guy on the board. But the Spurs go with I want to say controversial pick, but it's definitely a reach. And we're going to get to some of the things I like and don't like about him. But let's just get the bad news out of the way. First of all, Rudy, we got to talk about it. He had an ACL injury, and that's probably one of the biggest reasons why he plummeted from possibly being a top 5, 10 pick in this draft all the way down to 20. Risky pick. I looked at a lot of the scouting reports before we hit record here. The common thread, Rudy, was long shot, prospect, injury, unknown, risk. Your thoughts?
Yeah, so Jaden Quintin, pre-injury, you're talking about more than likely a top 10 pick in this NBA draft. I mean, he's scratching the surface at top 5, possibly. I mean, he could have been one of the better centers in the draft as well. You have a lot of guys actually talking about him being a steal no matter where he goes outside of the lottery. I can potentially see that happen, but right now, Quaintance is just a project type of pick. He's coming off that ACL injury, and we don't know how good he's going to be coming off that ACL injury. Fully expect him to be in Austin to start the season, and let's just say that's if he stays with San Antonio. This pick could be moved for all we know later on. But if he does stay with San Antonio, the rehabilitation is going to be a good long while for him. You're going to see him in Austin a whole lot more this season after he does get healthy. But I mean, head scratcher. Yeah. If you're thinking about it, a lot of the guys that were there probably were already expected to be gone by the time San Antonio selected. So, when that happens as a GM, you start to question, well, why is, a guy like LaBaron Pylon there? Why is Karim Lopez still there? They start to question. They kind of just go with the safest pick in their opinion, which is Jaden Quintin. But again, I mean, a lot of Spurs fans are probably not excited about Jaden Quintin. With who was there, I'm not very excited about Jaden Quintin either, but I understand the pick. 6'10" guy, 7'3" wingspan. More of a defensive presence, but is very, very raw overall.
Yeah, very, very raw. And I was just shocked. I was like, I said I had to put money on it. It was going to be Lopez or Sanak. I said, for sure it's going to be one of those two guys. It addresses a need. And technically the Spurs did address a need. Again, we talked about some of the common negative adjectives, words used to describe them. There were some power words such as power, strong, bully. Yeah. Exactly what the Spurs need next to Victor Wembanyama. He's exactly that. But again, you could have probably gotten that with Lopez. You probably could have gotten that with Sanak or what was the other kid's name? Pylon? How do you pronounce his name?
LaBaron Pylon. And he's a guard. Now, I originally thought that maybe the Spurs are going to go guard with LaBaron Pylon. Yeah. You're talking a kid that was a lottery pick in every single mock draft. I had him as a lottery, probably around the 9 to 12 range in that lottery for LaBaron Pylon. I could have seen him gone as early as 8 or 9, maybe even to Dallas there. But he dropped all the way. And then when I saw that he didn't go to Toronto because they had more of a need for forward or center, I thought, man, could it possibly be that the Spurs go with another guard? It wouldn't have upset me at all.
No.
Is a scoring guard out of Alabama, and he can definitely put the ball to the hoop. Something that the Spurs struggled with, if you look back to the Knicks series, they had trouble scoring when Dylan Harper was out there. You saw De'Aaron Fox struggle. Stephon Castle would struggle from time to time. A guy like LaBaron Pylon, he's just a straight scorer. So
yeah.
I figured if they were to have grabbed him at number 20, that would have actually been a need for them to be that second unit type of guy. Very depth at the guard position if they did that. But surprising, they did go with Quaintance. Karim Lopez, you mentioned, Jeff. Great pick for San Antonio if he would have gone there. But again, you're talking about a guy who's played in the adult leagues over in the international NBL.
He's a polished player already.
He's already a contribute now type of player. Mm-hmm. But even with him, it would have been a little bit longer, probably longer than a Carter Bryant development.
Yeah.
But he can definitely be a really good player for them. So a lot of guys on the board. I figured if they were going to go Jaden Quintin, they could have easily traded down and got him probably in that 27, 28 range. I didn't expect him to go anywhere before 25, 26, actually.
Yeah. Again, a stunning move for the Spurs to get. I think. What do you think about this? Do you think things got thrown off the Spurs because war room, their draft board, when Graves went ahead before number 20? I think if Graves was there, they would have taken him. Yeah, I mean, that would have been the slam dunk pick. Graves at 20, but he went ahead the Spurs. I think that may have thrown them off, but nevertheless, like you said, you still had quality players there. For the Spurs to address the need instead of going with a prospect. Now, look, finding a guy at 20 is kind of a reach. Usually number 20 picks, do they pan out? I guess some do in the history of the NBA draft, but I don't think he's ready to crack the rotation this year. Your thoughts?
For Jaden Quintin?
Yes.
No, he's not going to. I mean, he's definitely not going to crack the rotation this year. I think he's going to probably be an Austin guy at least for a year. He's got to get back into some kind of basketball shape. There's really no telling, and I don't remember seeing a timeline for when he'll be back from injury. So it's going to be a long process. And you mentioned Alan Graves, that maybe that the Spurs probably got off their target. Man, I saw a lot more of that from fans on X, liking Alan Graves, but what Alan Graves doesn't check off a lot on, and if you go into the scouting reports and look at the game film, it's defense. I mean, the Spurs have some scorers already. They got guys that can put the ball in the basket. Alan Graves is a little bit he does that as well. He can shoot the 3-ball. He's a very good basketball passer. But if the Spurs need someone with size that can defend, then I mean, obviously Jaden Quintin is that guy. He's an elite rim protector around the basket. So you kind of got to look at it as where Phoenix drafted Kaman Malawak last year. Malawak is a project type of guy, but one thing that Malawak can do is defend the rim, and that's something that I guess San Antonio looked at. A player like him who, if you're coming in at 6'10", with that kind of wingspan, you need someone to spell Victor around the rim. We saw how bad Luke Cornett looked around the rim. A guy like Quaintance, if you get the best out of him and he's actually to be healthy, then you're going to get a really good, probably, I would dare say, elite rim protector for when Wemby's not in the game. So you get a younger guy, you get someone who's a little more agile than Luke Cornett can probably defend the rim a lot better than Luke Cornett can. So The Allen Graves pick, Jeff, I never really had Graves circled to San Antonio. I don't know if that was just something that people on X decided that, yeah, he's my favorite guy because he can do this and this and this. But he does a lot of stuff. He does a lot of stuff that Devin Vassell does, and maybe even Keldon Johnson. So I just can't see them adding another player like that.
Yeah. And look, what's frustrating for me, probably for you, and definitely for Spurs fans, is that, for example, you had a 6'11" Sanak just right there on the board.
Yeah.
Right there. No history of an ACL injury, not labeled a project, considered one of the best prospects in this draft, over a guy who just had surgery and had to sit out a full year. And by the way, this guy, Quaintance, is 6'9".
Yeah.
So there's that. Look, I don't want to bash the kid, Okay, he wasn't even there at the draft night, so he wasn't even there. Probably he was like, "What? I got picked? What? That would be in the second round." But here we are. Look, the Spurs are making a reach with him, and I think what gets highlighted is the fact that there were, on paper, better bigs available to fill a need. Now, let's not bash the kid completely. Let's take a look at some of the good things that he does. So we'll get a lot of the pre-draft analysis heading into 2026 draft. They describe him as a powerful athlete. He is. Mm-hmm. You mentioned 6'10", 255 pounds. He's a big boy. He's a big kid, right? So he already has like a big body that can be thrown around, but probably delayed significantly because of the injury. He has great defensive upside. Rudy, you did a good job highlighting that. He's a good play finisher. He showed that off in Kentucky. He's a rim runner. He'll probably, take bodies out on the way to the rim. He can play above the rim. And again, I like the fact that he's considered like a bully. He's a big boy that can throw his body around. Dare I say, really not completely comparable, but kind of in the mode of a Jalen Duren. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I can see definitely like a Jalen Duren. The comparison really good is there. I think when we talked about him the other day, I did mention more like a Jalen Duren type of player for Jaden Quintin. But again, you've got to get him healthy. And the thing is like, imagine the type of player when he comes in for Victor and you got a healthy Jaden Quintin. He's running up the court. I mean, you said he's a prototypical big man for today's game. He runs the court very well. He can finish above the rim. He's an elite shot blocker. He can jump, extremely good and very high for a guy that his size. So the mobility's there. He's just unpolished. He's very raw. Rebounding wise, I'd say he's a well above average rebounder. He can definitely put himself into play to grab a lot of defensive and offensive boards as well. But the biggest thing you got to highlight with Quaintance is, he's a defensive type of guy. Now, I can say he's probably, if you're looking at a defensive center, Jeff, he's not as good as this guy, but someone that used to concentrate just on defense and made his name on the defensive side was a guy like Ben Wallace. Ben Wallace came in as a very unknown player, and Ben Wallace had to work his way up into being one of the best defenders in the NBA. That's something that Jaden Quintin can do as a player. He can come basically, he's a known guy, but because of injury, he's kind of an unknown type of player, what you're going to get in the NBA. If he works hard enough, and especially next to Victor, who is, should have been a 3-time defensive player of the year already, he'd be able to give him a lot of tips and a lot of pointers. So it's not essentially all bad for drafting Jaden Quintin. I just think that it's kind of early, but I mean, at this time where a lot of us are complaining about it, you have to understand the Spurs only had one draft pick in the first round. If he's your guy, you go get him no matter where you're picking. I mean, that's kind of the way you have to be as a GM. So Jalen Duren's a good comparison. I don't know if he's probably not as offensively gifted, and Jalen Duren's not an offensively gifted person at all.
Not. Yeah.
I have him kind of like a Kai Jones a little bit, if you remember him. Can jump, maybe, not as gifted as a John Collins, but these types of defenders, these guys defended a little bit better than the average guy. So Jaden Quintin right now, just stick with defense. That's probably the one great thing you're going to get out of him is the defensive side.
Rudy, I'm looking at social media right now. For the most part, Spurs fans are hating the pick. They really are. Yeah. And I get it. I get it. Look, before the injury, correct me if I'm wrong, he only played 4 games for Kentucky. That was it.
Yeah, he
That was
played
it.
4 games. It started off 4 games. I think he only averaged 5 points, 5 rebounds.
6.
Didn't
Yeah.
even average a block. So, but when I did his prospect profile for us here, and I looked at
Hmm.
his game, I went back to his days over at Arizona State,
Yeah.
his freshman year, where he played about 24 games. He only averaged 9 and 7 in there, and I think he averaged a block or no 2 blocks a game,
Yeah.
if I'm not mistaken. So, I mean, as a freshman, that's okay. Doesn't really stand out as a first round pick, but I think with him in Kentucky, with that coaching staff, and just being that you're playing with Kentucky, they know how to develop big men there. And I thought, well, coming into this year, he was going to have an even better year than he did his freshman year. But that injury 4 games in, it's like that derailed his season. And I mean, ACL injury, you can come back strong like an Adrian Peterson in the NFL, or it can just haunt you for the rest of your career, and you can go out like a Greg Oden, basically.
Oh, don't say that, Rudy. Please don't say that.
Hey, at least he's not a number 1 pick. So
There's that. There's that. And again, I don't want to pile on the kid, but again, we're looking at his scouting report. The guy you see in front of you right now on your screen, everybody, he has like no jumper. Like not even like the Spurs need a big that can spread the floor. Technically, he's an undersized big, but a big nonetheless. He can't spread the floor, Rudy, at all.
No.
At all.
No, he can't.
I think the Spurs probably fell in love with his defensive side of things. Should he play next season? Whether that's in garbage time with San Antonio or whatnot, preseason for sure. Likely you're going to see in the summer league if he plays. Now, real quick, is he okay? The surgery's over. Like you think he will play in the summer league or no? He still has to rehab that knee.
Like I said, I haven't really seen the latest on him injury-wise and health-wise, but if he's able to play summer league, I'm okay with it. I wouldn't put him on massive minutes, for summer league. But at this point, Jeff, if you remember when we talked on the last show, the draft show before the draft, I said, you're just going to kind of just shoot and see what you get, whatever sticks to this team. But you're not going to get a guy that's going to come in and make a difference. So whoever you draft at 20, now if it was a LaBaron Pylon or maybe the Karim Lopez, those guys maybe get into the rotation. I think Pylon does no matter what. Mm-hmm. But a guy like Quaintance or anybody else, you're probably just going to bring him along a little bit, a whole year in the G League. If he doesn't play summer ball, it's completely okay. No person's going to come into this team make that much of a difference. They've already got a 9-guy, 8-guy rotation.
Yeah.
No one's going to crack that. And it's going to be, if anyone is, it's going to be a free agent.
All right. Let's continue talking about the Spurs number 20 pick over on the first round of the NBA draft, Mr. Jaden Quintin. I'm sorry. We'll talk about him more, give you my 3 takeaways of the pick. That's all coming up next right here on Spurs in Focus.
Secret powers were revealed to me the day I held aloft my magic sword and said, "By the power of Grayskull, I subscribe to Spurs in Focus."
I was hoping the Spurs would select Prince Adam He-Man, number 20, but apparently not. Everybody, we're back right here at Spurs in Focus, reaction to the Spurs in the first round of the NBA draft, selecting Jaden Quintin out of Kentucky at number 20. And needless to say, Spurs fans, for the most part, are not liking it. Rudy and I kind of feel like it's a reach. It's a very, very long reach, and the kid has a lot of work ahead of him. I keep on hearing this phrase, Rudy, when I'm looking at scouting reports for him. Mm-hmm. When healthy, if he gets healthy, it seems to me durability is now going to be a big question about him. Let's just say he comes back 100%. You can't tell me that's going to be weighing on people's mind. Like, oh, he goes down. Oh, is his knee okay? Is his knee okay? Is he all right? Did he tweak his knee? I think that's going to pop up a lot once he does come back. But at the same time, you look at some of the more of the positives, though, is that many scouting reports feel that he has all the talent to be a very good rotational player. Again, when healthy. Scouting reports say the physical ability outweighs a lot of the warts on his game. Do you buy that?
I'm gonna say it's yes and no. I mean, the thing is, like with Jaden Quintin, if you're going into the pick with Jaden Quintin thinking, and again, it's all healthy. It's all he comes back healthy. But if you're saying he's going to be 100% healthy, then I can tell you right now, the Spurs got to steal on one side of the ball. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's the thing a lot of people need to understand. This draft pick wasn't for offensive reasons. It was for strictly defensive reasons. I mean, Jaden Quinton's he's going to be a defensive threat in the NBA if he's healthy. It's going to be tough to score on him. He can recover very well for a big guy. He can move around the paint very well for a big guy. If you need a guy that can do a lot of backdoor cuts, can kind of get to the basket, yeah, he's going to be that guy. But you're not going to expect him to come in and put the ball on the ground, dribble to the basket, give a little crossover, be Victor, and shoot 10 3-pointers a game. You're not getting that type of Jaden Quintin. What you're getting is just a rim protector from him. And then his offensive game is strictly going to be right around the paint area. So
yeah,
the thing you mentioned about when healthy, and everybody says when healthy, if he's healthy, that's a major concern because I can tell you right now, a lot of teams probably have passed on him just for that reason alone. I mean, you're taking a massive gamble on whether or not he's going to be healthy. And if I was San Antonio, if he hasn't gone by the 28th, 29th pick, I'm probably looking to trade back into the first to get him. But again, I mean, it just Spurs fans in general, even Spurs media. What are you wanting from Jaden? Were you wanting the all-around player like a Victor? Were you wanting the all-around player like a Day Mara who was drafted by the Thunder? I mean, you're not going to get an all-around player. You're getting a one-dimensional guy right now, and that, again, is when he's healthy.
There's been a lot of focus on Brian Wright in the draft. Oh, it's a no-brainer. Wemby number 1. It's a no-brainer. Dylan Harper number 2. Steph Castle.
I said that Carter a long time ago. A long time ago with you, I said that. He doesn't have a good track record when it comes to players outside of the obvious top 4. So, it's tough.
Well, I know it's very early. You can't really judge him so far. I mean, the kid, Quaintance, hasn't even played an NBA game yet.
He's barely played a college game.
He barely played college. But, my God, why do I feel like Brian Wright's under the microscope big time right now at number 20? Like, the first time you ever seen him really have to dig deep late in the draft.
This doesn't have a Lucas Samanic feel. Trust me, it's not that bad.
No clarification for that. Lucas Samanic, and not talking about you, Rudy. A lot of people think that was on Brian Wright's watch. It wasn't. That was one of the last picks that R.C. Buford did. So keep that in mind, everybody, moving forward.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. I mean, that was under RC, but it's not a Lucas Samanic type pick, but it's not a Keldon Johnson type pick either. So, you're not going to get as bad as Luka. You're not going to get as great as Keldon. You're going to get somewhere in the middle. So, I mean, is he better than a Jeremy Sohan when healthy? Yeah, you're going to get a lot better player than you are with Jaden Quintin than you are with Jeremy Sohan. Yeah. So, I will say that it's kind of a wait and see type of thing. Don't get on the Spurs front office now for drafting Quintins. Give it a little bit of time. See how it plays out. Because and I'm saying it just like the national media says, when healthy, this kid is a beast on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, I'm reading some scouting reports where they say that he could do freakish stuff on the defensive end.
I mean,
he's just like a whiz on that end of the court.
What I can do is I can probably send you the video of some of the scouting reports that I use for. I mean, his recovery time on the paint area, it reminds you a lot of Victor. I mean, he can have his back turn around, and he's blocking a shot. So, again, this is strictly, to me, a defensive type of pick. But, again, when healthy, he's probably one of the better defenders in this draft. But you can't expect him to do much more than that. That's the sad part. I mean, no one's ever going to love every pick. And, especially when you're drafting in the 20s, it's super tough, especially when other players are there. But, again, if the Spurs like Quintin from the beginning and he's there, they're going to take him no matter what.
Absolutely. All right, I'll give you my 3 reactions when the Spurs made the announcement. This was exactly what went through my mind the moment the number 20 pick was up and the Spurs or Adam Silver made the announcement regarding Quaintance. I love that he's a power player with the wingspan we highlighted. I think that's great. But my God, he's just so limited offensively. And then, of course, that ACL injury. I think, when I was putting this together, I kept on searching for things like what are positive things I could put on there. But it just felt like if you're going to weight on a weight scale, like the scales of justice, and put rocks on one end and on the other, like what weighs more pros and cons. Yeah. It feels like there was more cons than pros with this pick. Now, look, Quaintance can just shock us all. He comes back healthy and wow, way to go, GM Wright and Spurs and Jaden, y'all did good. And wow, look at this freakish defender. But that's going to be delayed. Which brings me to this question, Rudy, to you. Or I got a question for you, and of course, my general thought here. I feel the Spurs are not done making moves to address the need of bigs, but you're going to do via free agency. Yeah. I think they're going to try to bring in a veteran big, whether that's a 6'9" guy like Quaintance or just a guy out there maybe via a deal. I feel that this move with Jaden at number 20, they're looking more like long-termish, and in the short term, they may address it in free agency. What do you think?
Yes, free agency definitely is one that they're going to actually look at. And got some breaking news if I can break it to you right now.
Go
ahead. Spurs did acquire Terrence Reed from the Denver Nuggets, who was the number 26 pick. Okay. He's the center out of Connecticut. And remember, that was another guy that I told you about. Yeah. Second round, Terrence Reed, center out of Connecticut. So already in 2 picks, they've already addressed front court need. I'm a little bit more satisfied with Terrence Reed coming to San Antonio because, again, it's not going to be a day one player, but it allows a player like Jaden Quintin to just kind of go in the motions and get healthier.
Yeah.
Both of those picks for San Antonio, I think are remarkable picks. Now that I'm looking at it, it's not just Jaden Quintin. You got another big guy in Terrence Reed who is more ready now than Quinton's is, but again, it's not going to be a guy that's going to turn heads left and right. But no, I mean, going, with your Jaden Quinton's type of talk there. Yeah. Is it safe to say, Jeff, that if we just put everything away with Quinton's and just focus on the ability to be that rim protector that he is, then it's a home run pick if he works out? I mean, what was the one thing that everybody gave discredit to with Cornette at the end of the year, which defensively, he was a defense liability. You had to have Carter Bryant, Cullen Johnson. They were having to guard Karl Anthony Towns. Now, again, Jaden Quintin is going to be able to guard on the perimeter very well. But when you're up against guys like Hardenstein, who, if he's still with Oklahoma, now Oklahoma has a Day Mara. If you got big guys that you're going to have to deal with in the Western Conference, you need players like a Jaden Quintin that's going to be able to clog up the paint, make it tough for them. So, again, I think if you look at it just as a strictly defensive, idea and defensive prospect for San Antonio, Quinton is the winner as long as he's healthy. But again, as we mentioned a while ago, Terrence Reed Jr. from Connecticut, now in the Spurs, coming to the San Antonio Spurs. Yep. That's more front court help. But again, it's going to be free agent. Robert Williams, you can go. Isaiah Hardenstein may not be a Thunder much longer. They may have to actually cut him.
Circle, yes.
So again, you got players that are going to be there that can be day one guys and can actually come in. You don't have to give up a Luke Cornette. You can keep him, pair him up with a Hardenstein, pair him up with a Robert Williams. That gives you more depth at that front court position. Things are looking pretty good right now.
All right, well, while we're at it, let's go ahead and take a look at Mr. Terrence Reed Jr. Once again, as Rudy mentioned, the Spurs and the Nuggets made a deal. The Spurs get the draft rights of Terrence Reed Jr. And I believe this, by the way, that's a reunion too for Castle and Reed. So there's that. And then the Nuggets will receive the number 35 pick and 2 future second round selections from San Antonio. So there you have it. So 6'10" center, 14.7 points per game, 9 rebounds per game, 2.3 assists, and 2 blocks per game while shooting 61% from the field and 62% from the free throw line. You see a lot of scouting reports here. They're saying he's a solid screen setter. He finishes well around the basket. Reliable production when it comes to cleaning the boards, and a good defender. Maybe at the level of Quaintance when healthy, put that in there, but definitely calling him a reliable defender. Yeah, I think that's great. I think that's awesome. What do you got there, Rudy?
Yeah, I mean, Terrence Reed is, again, the type of player that I think a lot of people are going to like. He's a really rugged guy. Love what he does. He's got really good interior position. He's got really good interior hands. Good length. He's a very underrated passer as a big guy. Can rebound the ball very, very well. I mean, he's a bulky dude. I mean, 6'11", 265. I mean,
that's a big boy.
He can basically hold his ground down in the center position. So this is, again, where the Quaintance was like, you going at a Terrence Reed. And I think all you gave me, what you mentioned, was 2 second-round draft picks.
Yeah.
That's perfect. He's a second-round guy for me anyway, but getting him in the first round, a couple of guys in the second round jumped up to the first round of this draft, Terrence Reed being one of them. And now that he falls into San Antonio, there you go. You're adding the front court help that you've been looking for. So now maybe you don't need to go get an expensive Isaiah Hardenstein or somebody like that. You're adding youth, and we're going to see how Terrence Reed does in the summer league. And then also he's the type of guy, he may not be a G leaguer if he has a decent summer league. So I can definitely see him in San Antonio a lot more. But the other part I was going to say too with Terrence Reed is that does he take Cornette's spot? No. Does he take Olynyk's spot? Probably so. Maybe he even jumps over Bismack Biyombo as well. So this is a kid that can definitely come in. He doesn't have a whole lot of negatives, I think, that are too concerning. So really love the trade. And this actually made the night a little bit better for San Antonio.
I think it did. You see some of the numbers of Terrence Reed Jr. on your screen right now, everybody. As you can see there, last season, 14.7 points. There it is, 9 rebounds per game. Solid numbers, Rudy. Very productive player. And I think that's what the Spurs need as far as a big next to Wemby, if, of course, Reed does get some minutes. Just a guy that does a good job at giving Wemby adequate rest. We saw that Cornette was a liability during the playoff run. Wemby was playing like 40 minutes some games because the moment Wemby was out, teams attacked, and it was glaring. I think Reed, if he does and cracks the rotation and proves himself, I think the Spurs might have a guy that can be reliable to hold the fort down versus a Cornette. So there's that as well. But again, he's got to prove himself, whether that's in the G League or not. You look at some of the scouting reports here. They say, and we take that off your screen, everybody. There, put Rudy and I back there. There we go. We got some other scouting report numbers here. They say a lot of his strengths, Terrence Reed Jr., he's an elite 7-footer, okay, with a 4.25 wingspan. He is a big boy. They say that the positive, he has a very heavy physical build and good motor. So the guy likes to get up and down the court. That's good. A high-level screen setter. He's a bruising presence on the glass. Check. And a great, reliable interior defender. All right, so there's that. But again, Rudy, he can't spread the floor.
No.
Cannot spread the floor. He lacks outside shooting, reliable outside shooting, I should say. Very limited offensively. What do you think about that?
No, I mean, that's, like I said, he has very little weaknesses, but the weaknesses that he has are the most obvious ones. He's not going to be a three-point shooter. He's not a spread 5 guy. And, it's not a bad thing. I mean, people say, well, today's game, there's no more Tim Duncan-like players where they play in the post. Well, actually, it's starting to kind of get back to that in a little bit. You see a lot of players playing in the post, and it's not a big deal at all. I mean, I like what Terrence Reed brings to the team. He's not going to be a spot-up shooter. He's not going to be a three-point shooter. Doesn't have much of an offensive game when he's facing the basket. So, he's just a post type of player. He's just a guy that's going to play in between the lines. And, when it comes to defense, he's a really good shot blocker, Jeff. His biggest defensive liability is if he's going to guard like a Chet Holmgren on the perimeter. He's going to guard like a Cat on the perimeter. Somebody like that, yes, it's going to be difficult for him. He doesn't move his feet very well because he is on the bigger side. But nonetheless, I mean, how many nights are you actually going up against a player like that? Probably not very many nights right now. You see a lot of guys starting to play more, back behind their basket. He's able to stay in front of Nikola Jokic if Jokic's on the perimeter. Jokic's not a very fast guy at all. But again, the defensive liability just lies on perimeter. Anything within the paint, he's a beast. He's going to be able to hold his ground. And, of course, like any big man, I mean, he's got free throw liability as well. Mm-hmm. But that's why I said I'm not so concerned with Terrence Reed's weaknesses as I would be for another player. You're getting the player that you would late in the first round, early second round. So, I mean, the concerns shouldn't be very, very much. He's going to learn. He's going to be able to develop some kind of offensive skill with San Antonio. But right now it's just, again, like Quaintance, just concentrate on the defensive side of things. Both of these guys are really good defenders when healthy.
Yeah, exactly. Keep doing a deep dive into Mr. Reed there. I just like the fact that he could potentially be that guy that can just give Wemby a break. I think that's the big thing you need right now. He has defensive identity, 2.0 blocks with UConn last season. He's definitely a rim protector, so check. I feel there's a lot more checks on the boxes than there is with Quaintance, with Reed versus Quaintance. So there's that. I think I don't want to use the word immediate, but I think in the quick short term, we may see Reed as an adequate insurance policy when Wemby's out. Because we saw that. That was what a lot of teams exposed from the Spurs, even though they made it to the finals.
Yeah,
it was the moment Wemby was out, we saw the numbers. The on-off numbers were just dramatic. Hopefully with Reed, that will preserve that. Look, you can't replace Wemby. Nobody can, but the point is at least I'll have a reliable, potentially reliable big with Reed. What do you think about this too? If he does pan out, Reed, and does develop and he does crack rotation, do you think Reed then becomes the primary defender for the bigs that Wemby doesn't have to deal with? So like you said, your jokers, your ants, Hartenstein, wherever he lands, or maybe San Antonio. Mm-hmm. But if he doesn't, I feel like this kid will get the tougher assignment when it comes to interior defense versus Wemby. Because they're saying that he has a big frame. He can take a lot of abuse. He loves the heavy contact.
So with me, I like to throw players to kind of give you an idea. He's not. You could say he's like tractor trailer, Robert Trailer. Mm-hmm. But he's a better defender. He's not as offensively polished as tractor trailer was. The first person that came to mind just thinking about it, remember a guy like a Roy Hibbert? He can defend. He holds his own. He's good around the basket. Wasn't going to be a 3-point threat. Wasn't going to be, spotting up like KG inside the 3-point range. Have a consistent jump shot. He could set really good pick. He can roll to the basket. Really good around the frame, the paint area. And that's kind of what I see for Alex. Oh, not Alex. I'm sorry. I saw Alex Caravan come up. Terrence Reed Jr. That's exactly what I see for him. He's not going to wow you. He's not going to do anything. And on the defensive side, if you're giving me both guys healthy, I would rather see a Jaden Quintin's Wemby tandem having Quinton's because he's that much better of a defender.
Wow.
That would be a very difficult front court to score on if both of those guys. Terrence Reed, I don't think he can be that second option for Wemby next to him. He can kind of spell him, but it's almost like the Luke Cornett thing. He can still kind of be a little bit of a liability if he's playing next to Wemby, to whereas a Jaden Quinton's, when healthy, he has a good recovery and he's able to get to his spot a lot quicker. So I would take Quinton's and Wemby over Reed and Wemby right now.
Well, one thing for sure, we know what the Spurs were targeting in this draft. It was size, defensive presence, because both these players, Quinton's and Reed, are limited offensively. So the Spurs really want to address interior defense / Wemby insurance when he's off the court. It's obvious what they were looking for. Even though they got Reed, Rudy, I still think, and Quaintance, I think they're still going to look for more bigs in free agency. I really believe so.
They have to. Yeah. And again, I'm circling
because Rudy, and I'm going to get you off here, but they're both maybe not Reed, but definitely Quaintance project players. The Spurs just came back they just went to the NBA Finals. they want to go back. They can't afford time to be giving Quaintance, take all the time you need. We're not going to address our biggest need, and that being, size. Reed, prove yourself first before you can come in and make an impact. I feel like with these two players, they have to invest some time, some energy, and maybe some games in Austin.
I'll give you a lot of pushback on that. You said a lot. You said a really key phrase: a team coming off of an NBA Finals run. So when you're coming off of an NBA Finals run, and you are the second youngest team in the NBA to do that ever, what more do you need to change other than the obvious add veteran leadership to a bench that you're going to probably lose Harrison Barnes, Kelly Olynyk from? Mm-hmm. So you want to go out and add young veterans. So why do we look at the 2026 draft and say we need these guys because they're going to help us win? Again, there's nobody, unless you're picking in the top 6 or 7 in this draft. Nobody's going to come in and help San Antonio get over that New York Knicks hump. It's going to be somebody you trade for, or it's going to be a veteran that you're going to have to sign via free agency. Yeah. None of these guys are going to come in and make a difference. I mean, I'm just calling it like I am. There's nobody, especially after, pick 15, 16, that was going to come in and just take them over the hump. And hey, the Spurs are now NBA champions. There's nobody there. Yeah. So you have all the time in the world for these guys to develop. You just coming off an NBA Finals run, more than likely, barring a big trade, the Spurs are going to run it back. So you're bringing back a 62-win team that's going to be a little bit better with an offseason under Mitch Johnson and his coaching staff. Dylan Harper is going to probably already be at superstar status. So this team's going to look better going in next year, and you have a ton of time to allow these guys to develop. And if they develop even better, then by all means, man, put him on the bench for the 11th or 12th guy. Yeah, well, we know for sure with Quaintance, it'll be a while before he sniffs the court. He's not supposed to play this year. I looked it up, and they're saying he's probably going to be out this year. All right. Yeah, so just he's a non-factor the upcoming season. So then Reed, we'll definitely see him. I think the summer league starts like next week or something ridiculous, like crazy quick. The short turnaround there. But look, let's go start wrapping things up. So the Spurs address need. By definition, they need. Say what you will about the injury to Quaintance, but he is still exactly what the Spurs need when healthy. Bruiser, bully, long wingspan, defensive freak, but limited offense. Reed, same thing. Reliable, rim protector, big boy, big body, clean the boards, rim protect, 6'10", but limited offensively. So what would you grade the Spurs on the first round of 2026 NBA draft? A, B, C, D, or F? Oh, man. So do you want me to base it off of current Jaden Quintins or if healthy Jaden Quintins? Oh, man. Let's go with if healthy. If healthy. If healthy Jaden Quintins for the first round for San Antonio, I give it a solid B plus. Okay. I really do. I think if he doesn't come back healthy, I'd probably give it a B minus, C plus. I mean, they got 2 of their needs filled. And put in perspective, I mean, if you have Jaden Quintin out there in the NBA Finals on that last possession, chances are he's going to get a rebound over OG Anunoby with his wingspan. So that's the reason why they went this route. They completely went this big man route because they knew that front court size was the biggest difference for them in the NBA Finals. Absolutely. And again, I mean, when you've got Keldon Johnson guarding the big, and you're getting beat on the boards by not only by New York, but at one point I think Minnesota's beating them on some of the boards. Portland was beating them on some games on the board. So you needed to address rebounding. A healthy Jaden Quintins, it does that for you, rebounding. Defensive presence, spells Wemby. You can play him right next to Wemby. Wemby can kind of slide to that natural 4 that he wants to play. Terrence Reed, again, just kind of takes up a whole lot of space in the paint. So you kind of address the need, and that's why I give them, overall, healthy or not, I give them a solid B. I mean, I can go as high as a B+, but if Quintins doesn't come into play and he's just out for good, I mean, then I can go maybe in the C+, B- range. But overall, it was a decent draft for them. I won't complain. Yeah. Overall, if healthy with Quintins and, of course, with Reed, I'm going to give him a B-. Okay.
Okay. If they didn't make the deal with Denver, I would have pushed down to a C-. But I think the Reed deal with Denver pushes them up a bit. Why do I not give them a B or a B plus or an A-, whatever? Is because of the names that were still on the board. That you could have had two quality, healthy, ready to go players as soon as next season. With Quaintance, it's delayed. With the Reed, might be immediate, but we'll see how he pans out with summer league and training.
I don't mean to cut you off, but I kind of thought about this too, and I wanted to bring it up. The reason why they may not have taken a Karim Lopez or a LaBaron Pylon or somebody like that, or even a Sanak, those are guys you may have to promise minutes to, and they may not have that rotation spot for some of these guys. So if you bring in a Pylon who's a scoring guard, are you going to take minutes away from Devin? Are you going to take minutes away from Julian? Right. Who's going to lose minutes for LaBaron Pylon to get some playing time? If
he's probably in Austin, likely.
No, but he's not. That's a guy that he was guaranteed lottery. Throughout the entire Spurs season, I have no understanding why he fought. But a guy like Karim Lopez, do you put him over Keldon Johnson in a rotational spot?
Yeah, no.
Do you put him over Carter Bryant at this point? So that's what I'm saying. To give some of these guys who are going to come in right away, whose minutes do you take away? So a project like Quaintance, who is not going to play probably this season, and then a guy like Terrence Reed, who can maybe be an 11 or 12 guy on the bench, who can take over a Mason Plumlee spot. Then you're not guaranteeing minutes to these guys. So the rotation is probably full right now, and that's probably why they may have passed on some of these guys, because they just couldn't promise any minutes to them.
Yeah. Well, again, if the Spurs went into this draft thinking addressing need, they did that.
They get an A plus.
Just that thought, then they A plus. But it's who they picked first. Busted ACL, likely out for the full rookie season.
Probably
basically, think of it as a redshirt year for him. Then you got our guy Reed. Reed pushes it up a bit, my grade, but I just feel like maybe they could have done better at number 20. But we'll see. Hey, look, we've been talking this whole time. We got to hear from you. What do you think about the Spurs in the first round of the 2026 NBA draft? Just a reminder, the second round is tonight by the time we're watching this show. So we'll see. I don't know if the Spurs have any more second round picks. They gave them to Denver, right? They gave them 2.
So, yeah, they did. I'm actually going to look real quick just to make sure.
They may just have one more. I think they had 3 or 4 second rounders. I think 3 or 4.
They had 3. So as of right now, they still have the 35th pick.
So there's that. So we'll see what the Spurs do with 35.
42nd. Yeah, they still. Well, they still have the 3. So unless those, I don't know which 2 were sent to Denver. So
right, but ultimately they only have 1 technically second rounder left.
Maybe again, we have to see which ones were traded, but. If they got 1, there's still a bunch of players. If they kept 35, there's still a bunch of good players out there. So
we'll see what the Spurs do today in the second round. But as far as the first round is concerned, last night, what do you think? A plus, A minus, F? From the sound of things and just watching y'all on social media right now, it sounds like this was a complete bust of a draft for the Spurs. We need to hear what you have to say. Make sure to let Rudy know on X at The Sports Answer. Let me know on X at Jeff G Spurs Zone. And Rudy, talk about the answer, what you guys got cooking, obviously draft, and a lot more other topics you got cooking.
Yeah, so Sports Answer, you can find it on Answer Now TV. It's myself, it's Derek Gervin. We'll probably have Jeff on this week on a few shows, being that it's NBA draft week and we're going to hit the offseason pretty hard. Go over some draft picks, go over your San Antonio Spurs draft picks as well. Which teams are winners, which teams are losers. We just got a bunch of NBA talk, and then we're going to do some minor shows as well, part of Answer Now TV. So we'll be talking NFL coming up here. World Cup soccer's going on. I've never watched soccer as much as I have in this World Cup. It's tremendous. I'm excited for it. I look forward to it now. So yeah, it's just a lot of sports talk with myself and Derek Irvin, and then now Jeff Garcia is going to be joining a couple of shows as well.
Absolutely. Look forward to that, Rudy. And again, appreciate it. By the way, everybody, Rudy and I will have a live show coming up soon. I think he and I, we both agree, let's just let for the draft to completely be over.
Yeah.
And then we'll react to it all. So we'll probably bring up Quaintance and Reed again. And if they do hang on to the second round pick, they deal it. But if they do have that 1 left, who they select. And then we'll see moving forward. Well, obviously by today, we should have heard already from Brian Wright and the crew there, see what they have to say about their picks. and why they went that route. So looking forward to that. So Rudy, appreciate it as always. Again, follow him on X at The Sports Answer. And everybody else, we thank y'all for making Spurs in Focus your first and only spot for all things San Antonio Spurs. You want to unsubscribe to the rest of those shows you see on YouTube. Unsubscribe to them. So only stay here at Spurs in Focus. We got you covered on iTunes, Spotify, Amazon Podcasts, Pocket Cast, YouTube Music. We are everywhere. And don't forget about the Substack, Spurs in Focus Substack, completely free. Google it. Sign up today. There's a little button there just says subscribe. Clicking it, and that's it. You're done. Moving on. Makes me happy. So do that for me if you would. And again, we'll be back for a live show once the overall draft is over and give our overall reaction to the Spurs. Because up next is Summer League. So we'll see how those summer Spurs look like, but that's down the road. So for Mr. Rudy Campos, I am Jeff Garcia, and now you're in focus with Spurs in Focus.